Welcome to the Fire from Two Windows podcast, where we take a deep dive into different aspects of the fire service. My name is Matt Humnicke, and I am joined with Lou Cominelli. We want to express that these are our own opinions, built by experiences and education while honing our craft. These are not the opinions nor the directions from our various employers. We are here on our own to spur conversation and help level the playing field for all. Good evening, Lou.
What's up, Matt? How are you?
I'm well. We got a little topic tonight that we wanted to discuss. We got some guests coming on. We kind of let people know that this is coming down the pipe. We did have a call in the other side of our county that we work in, and we were able to get a hold of the radio traffic. So I kind of want to play that and then discuss it, if that's all right.
Sounds good. Yeah, let's roll with it.
All right. For those listening, you are going to be listening to a call that was taking place a couple months back. It is a cut down version. So the audio originally was 28 minutes, got cut down to about 12. So listen to the whole thing, take what you can from it. Certain department names are pulled from it just in case type of things. It won't spoil anything that you hear. So we're going to listen to that now.
1C45,
1C45 on the way.
1C37 is okay.
1C37, okay.
152.
152.
170 Welland Road.
170, okay.
2C35 to first dispatcher officer. Need admin that. Good job, please. 2C35, okay. 3C50 to fire dispatcher.
3C50, please move over to Ops 9. Fire dispatcher 1C37 units responding. Police are stating smoke in the streets, stating they can't see flames, but they can hear them.
37 copies. 1C37 is on location. I got smoke showing from a 1.5 vacant. I'll make this a working fire.
Hey, 1C37, you're on scene. Smoke from the 1.5 vacant working fire.
1C45 is on scene.
1C45, you're on scene.
172 is pulling off.
And 152 is we got a hydrant about 3 houses back from us.
152.
172 is the base unit.
7252 is making water for you.
Door on the back of the house is open. We've got fire from the seaside.
115's in row.
115.
17 officer, you got fire from the Charlie side?
Yes, and a door open on the back of the house.
Okay.
174 is on the way.
172 to command. Command on, go ahead, 72.
Yeah, I don't know if you're familiar with this address. We had hoarding conditions here previously.
Okay. I was not, thank you.
45 to command. Fire looks like it's on the Charlie side. All windows are boarded up.
Okay, I got 5-2's crew softening up the front of the house here.
You want me to take Charlie's side?
Yeah, keep an eye on it back there for now. All crews, front door entry has been gained. Just be advised, front door entry is open.
Crew's making entry on the Charlie side.
Okay.
I got water on the fire on the C side. We're going to make entry for search on the A side.
Okay.
A hole in the floor.
7-0 operator, unable to get the ladder up.
Was that holes in the floor?
We've got holes in the floor on the first floor. Holes in the floor, first floor. 172 to command.
Command now for 7-2.
I got a hole in the floor. Charlie side.
Okay. Dispatch, can you give me a tone for holes in the floor? Charlie side, first floor.
We got a lot of heat on the second floor, fire on the second floor.
Fire dispatcher units responding or operating to be advised, holes in the floor. See Charlie side on the first floor. Holes in the floor, Charlie side, first floor.
And it's in the basement.
158 right 2.
7-2, you think you got fire in the basement?
7-2, charge that blue line when you can.
115's going up. Good floors on scene. 152 driver to 172 driver. Let me know when you have hooked up.
172 to 152. You can send it when ready.
Water's coming.
153 to command. Remain up push on the second floor. A lot of heat up there if you can get the roof opened up.
5-2, what's your location?
153 moving up to Division 2 with the second line.
7-4 is going to be bringing you a second line.
Okay, we can get this roof opened up.
Charlie side to 7-2. The basement windows are melted. It may be below you.
Yeah, we got basement access. And can you see to go to my line and through, we can get in the basement.
What was that, 7-2?
7-4 crew, how many you got?
158,
7-4, I'm going to need you guys to go to the roof. Let's get the roof opened up.
7-4, command, we're headed up to the roof now.
Command interior crews, I got 7-4 heads the roof, open the roof up for you.
172 to command.
Command on for 172.
We need the basement. Looks like the fire in the basement was some drop down.
Okay, 7-2, you made the basement. Looks like the fire was dropped down.
And 5-2 to command. Looks like we got a lot of the fire on Division 2 knocked down. We'll need some folks to start opening it up here.
Got you, I got you.
7-4 command, you want to go ahead and front?
Last unit, go ahead.
7-4 command, do you want us to go ahead and front?
Yeah, go ahead. Give me an opening.
4.
Come in at dispatch.
Command.
You get the unit to my scene from police.
170. Primary search, second floor, negative.
Command, I copy onto the scene from 274 is on the way.
Charlie side to 152. I'm going to take those windows on the Charlie side, Division 2.
Okay, I'm good. 172, officer to the Charlie Division.
Charlie.
Any or all the basement windows knocked out?
It appears to be glass block. There's a small vent. Bravo Charlie on the Bravo side.
Alright. If we got a person to do it, can we start knocking that glass out?
7-4. Charlie side to command.
Command on, go ahead.
Can you make sure that since it's coming to the scene, I got to fill in this.
Dispatch, you handle that, please.
172 to command.
7-2, go ahead.
Yeah, tip man's on his way out for a bottle.
Okay.
Command, affirmative. 150 is currently hanging out in Firehouse.
Thank you.
7-2 off is coming to help on that first line. Command 274.
274, go ahead.
He wants to come off. Let's see where they're deck.
Command 170.
7-4, come up. Last unit, go ahead.
Falls on the second floor to the first floor as well.
Okay. Command all units, give me a power here. 170, you all set?
All set.
172. Command 172, you all set?
I'm all set. Tip man's out for bottles. Driver's at the pump.
152.
152 is far.
253.
253 is far. Basement, upper side.
115, you got power? Thank you. 7-4, you got power? Command 152.
Go ahead, command. Go ahead.
You made the fire room. What's your status?
Fire's all out. We got a bunch of holes in. Looks like we got a good knock on it.
Okay. When you get a minute, why don't you come outside, take a break. We got 274 pulling up soon. We'll rotate some crews through.
Command 274 is walking up. Charlie side to 7-2. Bravo side basement windows and Charlie side basement window are taken.
Fire dispatcher to command.
Command on, go ahead.
Chief, first 20-minute mark.
Thank you.
253 to command. 253 to command.
Command on, go ahead.
One firefighter exiting on the air pack, no bunches.
Okay. Command 170.
Go ahead.
Yeah, where did you do it primary?
Primary on second floor.
Okay. 274, make that a secondary second floor. Command units on the fire ground. Very large hole, Charlie side, first floor near the bathroom area.
Chief, we put a door over it.
Excellent. Command and dispatch.
Command.
It is under control. We're conducting secondary searches. We'll be out for a while.
Acknowledge. Command reporting the fire under control. Conducting secondary searches. Will be out a while. 200 hours, Chief.
All right. So a lot going on there. As you heard, there was that first 20-minute mark, and not long after that, everything seemed like it was under control, at least according to the audio that we have. What'd you think?
A lot of radio transmissions on there. Sounds like a normal fire being ran. I mean, we know what happened with everybody else that, unless they're from this area, don't know what happened. There was a Mayday that happened in that call that never made it over the air. And we'll get into, potentially the reasons why it never made over the air. No fault to anybody. Luckily, just like the firefighter surveys say that, it's over 80% of all Maydays or trapped firemen are rescued by the crews that are operating within the structure or the crews that they're with. And that's kind of exactly what happened here. We have the fireman that had the Mayday, and we have, I don't know, Kyle, what were you? The chief, the officer? What are you over there? I think you're muted, buddy.
I'm back. I'm the chief.
Okay. All right. So you were, and we got Kyle and Jared with us. And Jared, were you an officer? Are you an officer out there?
Yes, sir. I'm a lieutenant out there.
Okay. So you got chief, and we can get into this a little bit as we go through it, but just to introduce Kyle and Jared, they're both members of our department on the paid side, and they both are volunteer firemen at the same department on the east side of the county. I think it's a fantastic volunteer operation out there for many reasons, especially back in the days of softball when you go back there and have some good times. But again, to just introduce both of you, a couple just normal, usual questions for the guys. So start with Kyle. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up on the east side of the county here. I got my start in the department that I'm now the chief of as an explorer at 14. I'm finishing my 16th year here. So do the math. Wow, that's weird to say. And yeah, I've been on the job with you guys for 7 years now. So
7 years you've been on the job.
Time flies.
Any sports playing growing up?
Yeah, played a little baseball in my day. Kind of got sick of that and started playing golf in high school. That was nice. I was actually good at golf back then. Play a little hockey. Used to be okay at it. Now I'm old and fat, so I go out there and drink beer on Monday nights, but I don't think I've even potted one this year.
So you got in the Explorers at 14. What drew you to the fire department at 14 years old? I mean,
so a lot of guys, have family in the firehouse. I do have distantly down the line. What's up, baby? But that wasn't what drew it for me. I grew up around the corner from the firehouse that I became a member of, so it was really just seeing fire trucks go out all the time. I used to try and chase them on my bike and see where they were going. As young as I can remember, I just wanted to be a fireman for whatever reason. I think it was just basically where my parents live.
So they got a good Explorer post out there for the young guys.
When I first joined, it was I think there was like 10 or 15 of us, and then it kind of, like anything, it goes in waves. Numbers went down, but then they eventually went back up, and right now we do really well. It's actually not an Explorer program anymore. It's a junior firefighter program, which you get the kids in younger. We get them in at 10 now, and we get them into the department as junior firefighters at 17.
Yeah, because I could tell you at 14 years old, my old man was a volunteer, but I wasn't thinking about chasing fire trucks. I was worried about other things at 14.
I was trying to chase fire trucks on my bike. That's like 7. But I was 14. Who am I kidding?
So Jared, yeah, the same thing. Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in the town of Gates. I went to school there all my life, for the most part. Started volunteering in 2015 at the age of 18, and got on the job in 2020.
What brought you over to the fire service? What was it?
Honestly, it was like Kyle said, seeing the fire trucks go by. When I was probably from the age of 3 to the age of 8 for Halloween, I was a fireman, and seeing the trucks go by the house, I always ran to the window every time I heard a siren, and then I kind of just joined from there. Got to the age.
Any sports growing up?
Yeah, I played baseball in middle school, and then also got sick of that and started playing lacrosse. Still play.
And the reason why I bring up the sports thing is I'm a firm believer that kids that play sports have a different set of skills coming out at life, and I think it translates very well to the fire service. I don't know. Would you guys agree with that? Do you think it helps?
Sure.
Absolutely.
I think it helps with more than that. Just basic life structure.
Yeah. I mean, we see some of the, not to pick on some of our hires that we've had here, but I mean, you could probably even look at some of the guys that you're bringing in to your volunteer department, and you could tell the difference between people that have some sort of sports background with team aspect compared to kids that were just, doing whatever they're doing, not playing. And I'm not getting into the debate over organized sports and club sports and all this other thing, but just something playing a team sport to get that mindset.
For sure.
I think that correlates so much into what we do. And Matt, you got anything for him?
No, just with that, it's definitely not so much that you were the rock star, the quarterback, the whatever. It's the socialization. You just learn how to socialize with other people at such a young age that it becomes natural when you get to become a young adult and then into adulthood. Anything that's team based, now you're a cog in the machine type of thing, and that whole fixture kind of just really translates, as you said, into the fire service very, very well. We've seen people that have not had that, and they can be good firefighters. No, there's no doubt about it, but we do see kind of a lack of socialization skills, which then translate into, that could be as simple as trust on the fire ground or in the firehouse. So we definitely do see a bigger, turnout with team-based people than we do anything else.
Yeah, man, 100%. So I got this, Jared, you did like a presentation for your department after this whole thing?
I did, yeah, roughly a month later.
Yeah, so I got kind of like the printout of the PowerPoint. You gave it to me, kind of review. So let's just run through this far. You guys, what were you guys, like third, fourth on scene or something like that?
I believe we were third due.
Third due?
Which rig were you?
115.
All right, so it was, you guys were running, your town runs like heavy mutual aid, like you guys all run together.
Yeah,
it's everybody.
So
yeah, it's basically the 4-in-2 model, but you don't get 2 trucks, you get an extra engine.
All right, so you guys were the third due unit, and in your mutual aid runs, in your run car, your flows,
they're a third due engine.
Are you operating as a third due engine?
No, and that's what makes things a little bit difficult out here. It's not painted that way.
So it's more command driven, there's no like town-wide SOP, SOG of, you're first on scene, you do this type of thing. All right, so why don't we just run you guys, was it a chief officer that got on scene first?
Yeah.
I know the cops showed up. The cops gave some sort of report. So
cops got the smoke in the street. That's good to know.
Smoke in the street, and they could hear flames.
People waving.
So, was it the chief of the department that was in their district that was first due? It looks like the assistant chief, I'm guessing, or
the battalion chief.
The battalion chief.
Yeah, it was first due.
And
he gave the size up there.
That was 45.
They all kind of showed up on scene. The first due engine truck and the battalion chief kind of were on scene at the same time.
And you guys got there. I'm looking at the notes here. In about 10 minutes in.
Yeah, it sounds about right. It's between home response, and it's basically in the south side of town. So
that's a distance for you guys.
Southwest as you can go. So yeah, we're coming from across town. So it took a few minutes, but yeah, about 10 minutes probably fair.
All right, so you guys respond on an engine. How many guys are on that engine?
There was 3 total. There was a driver, myself, and a bad CJ.
And Kyle, you showed up in the buggy.
Yeah, I usually stay in bed for these because the deputy chief goes, but for whatever reason, I think he didn't have the CPAP machine on that night or whatever. So I always look at the bricks to see what's going on. So I quietly got in the ride and started that way, and ended
All right,
up
so
in there.
your engine, did you show up the same time as your engine then?
I would say way ahead of them.
Way ahead. All right.
Yeah, I was probably five minutes. I was on scene with the second due engine.
All right, so once your engine gets on scene as a third due apparatus, you marry up with them to complete.
Yeah,
the crew.
I mean what I do and what I put emphasis on our chief officers is the other departments in town kind of have their roles as far as the command officers painted out. Who's going to do what? Who's going to be the command officer? Who's going to be the Charlie side officer? So we always come up to the command post ready to go to work, air pack, tick, tools. So yeah, I walked up to the command post ready to go and kind of asked him what he needed, and we went from there.
So just so people realize, you hit this town is there are 2 career departments now.
Yeah.
2 career, and then it's you guys are all volley, and then the other one that is all volley as well. But
we're supplemented by staff during the day, but on the overnight it's 100% volunteer.
So you got 4 departments in one town, 2 career, 2 volley. You guys, your department gets on the road. Like, I don't think you guys ever have a problem getting rigs on the road.
I mean, like any volunteer department, there are times, but typically at 3 o'clock in the morning or 1 o'clock in the morning on the overnight, we're pretty quick. It's just geographically it takes a minute sometimes, but yeah, we're pretty good.
So you guys get on scene. You're on scene first. Your engine rolls up. What is there? It was tough to discern through the radio traffic, and if people aren't familiar with how the numbering system works in our county. You guys get on scene. Does the incident commander assign your engine to search?
Yeah, that's kind of how it went down. I was hanging out at the command post, kind of prodding the command officer. Hey, what do you need? Because I was already seeing, some gaps in the command system at that point. But I had ended up helping the first due engine get water, and then those guys rolled up, and I just married up with them because I saw they had 3. And we ended up getting assigned to a search, which that's kind of how it goes. You show up as a third due engine. You might 15. They were preparing. He was preparing to make second water, Jared.
So we ended up backing down just in case for second water, and that's when I saw you at the command post and met up with you.
Yeah, and he just told us to go make a search of the first floor. So
I originally thought that we were going to be assigned the rig company.
Same. It's typically how these calls usually pan out for us. Just the order operations. Unless we're right on top of it, we're usually thrown into the rig. So I think we were all under the assumption that that's what was going to happen, but it's not how it went.
So just to paint the picture, this is a 1.5 story Cape Cod with a salt box style type roof off the Charlie side. The gable windows are on the Bravo and Delta side with like I said, the salt box dormer on the Charlie side. It's got a pretty good porch off the back. It's not enclosed, but it's got a roof. It's probably 15 by 20 foot porch off the back. Hot tub. It's a roof over deck essentially. Hot tub on there. Windows look. Now I can't tell. Were these windows boarded up before, or are these emergency enclosure boarding?
No, it was a boarded up vacant.
So it was a vacant. All right.
Yes.
So the first floor windows were all boarded up. Second floor windows don't look like they had any security measures on them. In the radio traffic, I can see in the picture there's one basement window on the Bravo side, and it sounded like there was another basement window on the Delta side.
There was a basement window on the Delta side and 2 on the Charlie side.
Well, the ones on the Bravo. So that I'm looking at the Bravo side, right next to the garbage can. There's a basement window with like those window wells.
Yep.
So the Bravo Charlie corner. So you guys get on scene. They assign you to search, and all three of you go in.
Correct.
So three-man search team.
Yep.
And they had one line in operation at this time.
They had one line of operation, and the second line kind of followed us in. They were just pulling the board off the front door as we were making entry, or shortly before.
So that first hand line went to the Charlie side because that's where they said they had most of the fire, right?
Yeah, they had an open door there, so that's immediately where they took the line.
So it said the chief did a 360. Was anything besides the fire coming out of the Charlie side? Was anything else present on a 360?
From what I saw, there was heavy smoke from the entire structure.
Yeah,
but I mean, there was no mention that I recall of everything being boarded up.
No report of fire from the basement.
Nope.
Nothing. I mean, it's tough to tell with block windows. So you guys make entry. Do you guys split your crew? I mean, I got Jared's search pattern. What you guys did? Were you guys all together searching like one room at a time, or Kyle, were you acting as the officer for the 3-person crew and let?
Yeah. At that point, I basically acted as the officer for those two guys. We made entry. There was pretty good lift at the front door, so we could see to our left was a living area, and again, it's a vacant, so there's no furniture in that room to the left. So we basically kind of swept through there. Your typical single-story layout: living room in the front, kitchen off the rear, and then some, of course, overtime. Then a hallway in the back to bedrooms and a bathroom. So we got to that hallway. That was kind of when you hear the audio. They're making the basement stairs. As we met the engine in the hallway. There was where that first hole was discovered. And before we moved on and proceeded down the hallway, we took the bathroom door off and covered. I don't know how big was that hole, Jared?
It was the size of. It was basically a. It's like a foot by a foot.
It was enough. A guy had already put his leg through the floor at where that hole was.
Yeah,
and we covered that before we moved down the hallway.
Yeah, which I've done before.
So our game plan from there was there was a bathroom and 3 bedrooms, or was it the 2 bedrooms in the bathroom?
It was the 2 bedrooms on the Bravo, or I'm sorry, on the Delta side. And so there was a bathroom on the Charlie in the middle of the house.
Small enough rooms. I said each of us will take a room, and then we'll meet out in the hallway. We're all within earshot of each other. We can search these rooms real quick, and then we'll move on from there, and that's what we did.
All right, so you guys search the living room, search the kitchen. You're at the you put the door over the one hole that you knew that what was there. Did your other fireman get into that other bedroom that's on the the Alpha Delta corner?
Yep. He took the bedroom on the right. I went in the bedroom on the left, and Jared went into the bathroom.
Okay, because that hole, the way Jared explained to me and looking at the pictures, that hole was like right at the wall.
Yeah, I mean, when we get down through the story here, we could talk about that. Yeah. But that's exactly where it was.
All right, so you got one fireman in the bedroom. Kyle, you're in the other bedroom. Yep. Jared's in the bathroom searching. All right, so then walk me through what happens.
All right, me and the other fireman do quick searches of the 2 bedrooms. One was pretty empty. The one I went into was just full of shit, bags everywhere. There was a bed on the ground, but it was quick to go through. The structure's got pretty significant heat conditions in it throughout still, so they were still unsure on the location of the fire. They had knocked down a good volume of fire on the first floor, and they were down operating in the basement. Me and the other firefighter met up in the hallway, and I looked at him and I go, where's Jared? He didn't go down to the basement yet. And I could see there was a little bit of lift, and I looked into the bathroom and I could see the tip of his helmet. I could see the heel of his helmet, but he was downstairs. And I'm like, what the fuck? I said to myself, I'm like, there's no way he went down the stairs already, and there's no way he would do that without even letting us know. So I looked at him, and this is verbatim, and I said, "Did you just fall through the fucking floor?" And he looks at me, and he's like, "Oh yeah," and I was like, "Oh, all right." I asked him if he was all right, what he had around him, and he said, "Yeah, I'm good." But he was attempting to self extricate. I mean, the other fireman and I, we didn't even hear it. We had no clue. The heat condition was still pretty significant, and you couldn't see anything. So I had kind of just seen him with my box light. I had just happened to shine it in that direction and see his head down there. I think Jerry can talk about it from there.
Yeah,
so you enter the bathroom. You're searching. I mean, how big is this bathroom going to be?
Typical Cape Cod size. It's 6 foot by 8 foot, maybe. It was a pretty small bathroom. Went in on the left side, put the tool down. I had the halogen with me, and then with my hands, kind of felt like a hole, and I was like, "Oh shoot, we got a hole here." And then as soon as I went to retreat, the entire floor gave out, and I was in the basement.
How far of a drop was that?
It was a full drop. It was 6 feet. I was standing up. Well, I was standing up. The top of my helmet was touching the top of the floor in the bathroom, so probably 6.5 feet or so.
Did you fall all the way down and then stand back up, or was it like a soft, gentle fall down?
Nope.
You were able to catch yourself land on just your feet.
Nope, I fell head first right onto my left shoulder, hit the concrete floor.
Okay.
Now, you said there was some stuff that dropped down that kind of... Did it pad your...
There was some like wood 2x4s, a couple floor joists also broke off. Some insulation, but nothing that could really do some damage.
Was there organizer or something in there, some sort of like dresser or something that dropped down there with you?
Yeah, there was like a bathroom cabinet or something that came down with me. It hit me in the feet, the leg, and tangled up in wires just a little bit, but was able to just stand right up. And that's when I saw Kyle's box light, and he came right over to me and was like, "Yeah, did you just fall down there?" Well, yep, sure did.
Did you guys attempt a Mayday transmission?
I did. So my helmet fell off. Didn't like disentangle my mask or anything. Made sure that was all good. And then as soon as I was pretty much standing up, I ended up keying up the mic and said "Mayday, Mayday, Mayday." And I didn't get the block tone or anything. You get the tone of whenever you're talking. So I heard that. And after that, I don't even know if they acknowledged me. Had nothing, because I stood up and I saw Kyle right there, and I was like, "Just get me the hell out of here! It's hot down here."
So I mean, we just listened to the audio, and there was no Mayday on the recorded audio.
There was no Mayday on the audio. However, I kind of pinpointed where the Mayday was, and it was like it was very gargled transmission.
All right, so guys, in our county, we went to the trunk system, which is usually, I think, what the national standard is now. Most people, I think, run the trunk radio system. And when you key the mic, if you're on the trunk system, you get the bonk tone, which is a denial tone. That means somebody else is talking on that frequency, and you're not going to get your transmission out. What some departments do around here, they run on the repeater system, which is on a different band, which is, what is it, VHF, Matt? Band?
I don't have a solid handle on how this works, because I know it's supposed to, it won't bonk you. It'll still let you transmit, but essentially it stacks your message. So if somebody is talking, you don't know they're already talking, so you're not instantly making it out. It stacks your message for the next clear moment. So that's how it's supposed to work.
Were you guys running on the trunk system out there?
Yeah, we always run on the trunk system.
Do you guys Does your ruthless preemption work on there and your emergency call button?
Sure does.
So I'm guessing just one of those things, heat of the moment, didn't even think of it to hit that emergency call. But yeah. So Mayday happens. You put it out there, no acknowledgement. You see Kyle there at the top of the hole. What happens next?
So I saw Kyle there, and I saw the other firemen, and both of them were trying to grab my air pack, grab my arms, grab something just to give me a little bit of lift so I can try to self-extricate. That wasn't working out. Obviously, I gained a little weight since my volunteer days.
That wasn't so much it. I came into the room and I could feel the floor, what remained underneath it was ready to go as well.
Yeah.
And I told Jared, I'm like, if both of us get in here and try and lift you out, we're just going to end up in the basement with you. And I had asked him, I go, are you, directly impinged by fire? He had said it was really hot down there. And he said, no. And I think I asked you, can you see a way out? And he said, no. I don't know if there was a wall that spanned that basement or what. I never set foot down there.
I saw like a, only see a couple of feet in front of me, and I saw what looked like 2x4s. So I kind of put my arm through it, but there was either plywood or drywall over there, just like an unfinished wall. So I kind of walked around down there, got on my knees, and went around this wall, and then I started getting hit with the line down there. So I told Kyle, I was like, let me go try to find the basement stairs. If they're in the basement, the stairs shouldn't have gave way. So as I did that, got hit with the line, kind of went right back to the hole, and I said, yeah, they're still putting out hotspots and whatnot. I just got hit with the line. So, and I kind of just stayed right there.
We attempted to extricate him like real quick by hand, but it wasn't working. So, I'll be the first one to admit there's a lot of things I think a lot of people fucked up at this call. Me being one of them as a chief officer. So this call took place on July 5th. On July 4th, we had a detail at the town grounds that I ran for fireworks, and my portable radio was still on the events talk group. So I also transmitted an urgent message that went to nobody because of this complacency. I didn't put my radio back on the proper channel. And when I grabbed it at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was under the assumption it was on OPS8. It was on scan, so I could hear everything that was going on. But yeah, I also messed that up. So at that point, when I didn't get an acknowledgement, I had the other firefighters stick with Jared. We had acknowledged that there was a Mayday situation going on, but Jared was not necessarily in any imminent danger. We just need to get him out of the hole before it got worse. There is nobody around. This is a 1,000 square foot, 1.5 story house. And we're on the first floor. And usually it's every Tom, Dick, and Harry trying to crawl over each other and get a piece of the pie. There is nobody within earshot to give us a hand. So everybody's talking on the radio. We all heard that. So I beelined it out the front door. The first battalion chief I saw, I waved him over. I gave him the old Kyle hand. And he walked over, and I told him, I've got a Mayday situation. I got a fireman through the floor. He fell through the first floor to the basement. I need a company to assist with extricating him with tools. Said, I need a attic ladder, and I need just a couple hands. He's okay. We have him, but I need a company to help extricate him. One of the units that was there operating, I was under the assumption took our spot as a RIC because they showed up after us. I have no idea where they were or what they were doing, but there was no RIC established. I went back in to Jared. We continued to try some extrication efforts. Another thing, you could do these drills in the truck bay all day long until you're on the fire ground and one of your buddies falls through a floor. It's high risk, low frequency. Your training kind of goes out the window and you don't remember some of these things. What do they say? Your fine motor skills go down to like 3 things you can remember. So I had webbing in my pocket that I never even pulled out to attempt to pull him out. We just kind of tried to pull him out by hand like idiots for a minute. But we were in there again for, I don't know, what seemed like 20 minutes. It was realistically probably 2. Jared's saying, I got to get out of here. It's hot. Obviously, he's uncomfortable. He's shook up. Nobody comes in. Nobody comes. Nobody shows up. So you guys know me well enough. I marched my happy ass out front again. And it's like the closest guy I saw, I think he was the driver of the truck company. I said, get me a fucking attic ladder right now. And the next person you see, send them in to the Charlie side because there's a fireman through the floor. And he got me an attic ladder that I think was 32 feet long. It literally, it was like, the scene from Austin Powers when he's trying to he's trying to back the car up in the hallway. So you had talked about that picture, when smoke lifted, the exterior wall of where Jared fell in this bathroom, it was obviously the cutout of a bathtub that was removed at some point, whatever. That's where he went down. The exterior wall next to that was open. We had no idea because we still couldn't see. I bring this attic ladder in. I'm trying to bring it in through the doorway of where he went down, but your typical hallway in a 1-story house. I'm doing the Austin Powers parking move, trying to get this in. I'm getting pissed off. I'm flustered. My buddy's falling through the floor. There's nobody here to help us. There's 30 firemen on scene in a 1,000 square foot, 1.5-story house. I have no clue where anybody is. I told a chief in the front yard, I have no idea what his assignment was. Why hasn't anybody called us yet to check on us and see what we need? I'm just getting more and more pissed off. Finally, we got a little lift, and I could see, again with my box light, like, there's a giant hole in the wall. So what we ended up doing is I un-Austin Powers the ladder, brought her around, and I shoved it in the hole for Jared. He was able to just step up out of the hole. And we just ended our search at that point. We had completed the search of the first floor, and we had regrouped to the front yard.
So, Jared, when you felt the hose line hitting you, there was no way to make it to those guys and make it out the basement steps?
At that point, I didn't want to risk anything. Kind of already hurt as is, getting hit with 160 gallons a minute. So I once I felt water and a lot of water, I kind of retreated back to the hole and was like, "They're still flowing down here. I don't want to risk anything. My mask is still intact. It didn't fall off. I'm all right. I'm not injured. Just get me the hell out of here."
Yeah, I can understand. I mean, you don't want to risk getting lost down there, especially if a vacant structure.
I think I said that to you. I said, if you could see a way out, go for it, but don't get lost.
Correct.
Was this being a vacant, assuming this was an arson job?
I was. Yes. Yeah. And
now these pictures are tough. I mean, because anybody looks at after fire pictures, you some of them they're just taken. I mean, Jared did a good job explaining where they are, but I mean, there was multiple holes in this structure. So, like this one, there was a hole from the first to the second floor as well.
So
there was, yes.
In the hallway where we were standing, basically in the same cutout where he had fallen. If you looked up, the same hole was right there in the bathroom in the second story, in the attic, which was a livable attic, just like every house on this side of town. Everybody turns into a living space. Same thing. Tub's gone. Giant hole.
Was there a bathroom on the second floor too?
Yeah. That's the hole is the same size of the tub cut out.
So it's probably just they took the tub for the cast iron or whatever, the scrap in it.
Whatever may have been there, somebody probably took it out. I don't know if the hole was created for fire travel. It certainly worked because they had a significant amount of fire on the second floor. You don't hear that in the audio, but they had a rocking fire up there too.
Yeah, I mean, it sounded like you had fire on 3 floors, including the 2 floors in the basement. I mean, Jared, I mean, I'm just look if that second floor tub wasn't there, you should be counting your blessings that a cast iron tub didn't come down on you. I mean,
they were. We were talking. We did a little report with them, probably a week after, and they said there was a couple little things that were kind of dangling there in the hole, which after hearing that, you feel reassured that something didn't fall on you.
I've taken out a cast iron tub before, and they're not light.
Right.
So imagine. I mean, Matt, you got anything before we get into some of the other stuff that we want to talk about with them?
Yeah, a couple things. First of all, I'm amazed at hearing the audio and then hearing your guys' story. Kyle, I think it's commendable to identify some of the things that you said. Hey, this is I own this. I could have done this. I got complacent here. Not a lot of people are willing to step up and say things like that. But the other side of that, your decisions based on everything being thrown at you in the moment from second to second, each snippet is incredible. And that really helped Jared out in that moment. And Jared, for you to fall through, and the first thing what really stood out is, hey, check my mask. Do I got air? My helmet's off. A lot of people go through, you're already in a house fire, so we're already amped up, right? So we've gone from wide vision down to tunnel vision just because we're excited to go to the job in the middle of the night. Now something happens to you, your heart goes from 160 beats to 260 beats, because this has now gotten scary instead of playtime.
Absolutely.
And you're still making these important decisions that's not for everybody else that you're looking for. It's now for yourself. And ultimately that really saved you in this moment. One thing that stood out, another thing that stood out, you still had your radio. Like, how do you carry your radio on those jobs?
So I have a radio strap, the man purse. It's on the right side, and then I feed it up underneath the coat. The radio is attached to the radio clip on the left side of my jacket.
Okay, so it's traditionally under your coat, and it just peeks up through. All right, so I think that's a big. I think that saved you right there, because if you did not have your radio with you, you wouldn't even you didn't get the bonk tone, but you wouldn't have been able to grab for anything to start a transmission. And that was your first go-to. Start a transmission, let people know I need help, and then start, looking for somebody nearby, which happened to be Kyle. So plan A was the radio. Plan B was, hey, start looking for my other guys. It went straight to plan B, but you transversed right through those series, which is really cool. And it just makes me think that back to a couple training scenarios that we did at our station, which Lou brought up, in an entanglement situation, if you can't get your radio, you can't get that remote mic head, how else can you get a transmission out? Do you know how to reach down, pull your radio right out, look for it, whatever. And what happens if you don't have your radio at all? And we've seen guys lose their stuff in the mazes, especially over at the PSD, the training facility. People lose all their shit. It's a yard sale. You have no radio. So that's really cool. Kyle, you said you attempted a transmission? I didn't quite catch that.
I did. I actually have the notes pulled up. Yeah, I did. According to this, 3 minutes after Jared attempted his Mayday, I transmitted an urgent, but I was on basically a town talk group because of what we were doing the night before.
Right. So did you hear Jared's transmission at all?
No.
Okay, so you didn't hear it either. So something with the system, whatever, we'll chalk that up to ghosts in the machine. But you go right into, hey, I didn't hear him call out, so I'm going to try and call out while you're progressing into him. So that was from the moment you saw his helmet and asked, hey, what are you in the basement? Is that where you attempted to make that transmission?
I was I'm sorry.
Are you asking Jared or me?
I'm sorry, Kyle, you.
It just looking at these notes, it's like minutes after, so I'm guessing I had probably made contact with him, and then after a couple of minutes tried to get a transmission out, but kind of similar situation. Want to know?
Yeah. Well, I'm happy you both are here with us today, and still coming to work and everything, and still playing shitty golf. But yeah, I mean, these decision-making skills, you said it felt like 20 minutes, and it was realistically like 2 trying to get him out of the hole, give another minute trying to figure out what just happened, where he is, and what we need. These are fast-paced decision makings, and it all comes back to your training, whether that's at work or it's at your volunteer departments or however else you supplement your entire thing from the age of 14 as an explorer all the way on up, and Jared from 18 all the way on up. I mean, this essentially, your training of doing these kind of crazy scenarios and ramping yourself up really hit that margin in this scenario. So that's, like I said, it's commendable for how you guys came out and moved through those obstacles, literally those obstacles. One last question I had, the hole initially, when you guys, after the fact and everything, did you guys figure out what caused this hole? Was this here because of degradation of materials? Naturally, it was just rotten wood, or was this fire impingement?
This turned out to be the first hole that we covered up. Just turned out to be trailer that was poured from accelerant from the arson job.
Okay.
So basically, the entire house was poured from basement to first floor to second floor and lit. So that was probably just degradation from the accelerant on the floor, creating holes. I mean, we know floors don't naturally burn.
No, but it wasn't natural rot. Just because you said there used to be a tub, I didn't know if maybe we got a rotten
where
space.
Jared went down, I can't say. I would have to go back and view the report, but it was definitely both those holes were cutouts. The one on the first floor and the one on the second floor were cutouts for tubs.
Just before this section of the event happened where Jared fell through, did you guys know at this point or consider, was there any inkling that said, hey, I think we got an arson job?
Hindsight being 2020, when I can look back on it and I could say, wow, that 100% is an arson job. You show up, you have an open door on a boarded up vacant. As we made entry, not so much. I think we were just kind of the mindset that we're going into a vacant that's kind of been sitting there for a minute. And I don't know. I can't say that before we made entry that I had the inkling that it was an arson job.
Jared, how about you? Other than it was identified that this was a vacant, it sounds like you guys knew that this was a vacant, other than just seeing boards. Was your mind just, I'm searching a vacant, or did you something else kind of, spidey senses started flicking the hairs in the back of your neck up?
So we heard the transmission of it's a vacant, and we heard the transmission of it's a known address with possible hoarding conditions. So I really had no idea what we were going to go into. When we entered the first floor, there was just like clutter. It wasn't like bad. It was just like you can walk through everything, but if you look at the pictures, there's only a few things in that living room. So I thought we were going to go into like an actual hoarding house. And then I saw a company when we were going in taking the boards off the windows. And after that, I was like, oh yeah, this is a complete vacant right now.
Man, this whole thing is wild, and I had a feeling this was gonna evolve into this exactly what happened. So after hearing you guys, this sounds like a mess, that this job did not go very well. The interesting part was when you listen to that audio, and Jared, when you sent me that and I listened, I went, man, this is working with other departments all over the state. Sometimes even we, get a little mucked up at work too. And, you hear too much of that, chief, where do you want me? Chief, I'm on scene. Chief, like you're getting a lot of that. You're contacting someone, you're waiting for their response, then you give something, you have like a 4-way communication, just tying up tons and tons of airtime.
Yep.
This, I didn't get that impression from this call. Like this seemed very in control up until listening to your guys' side of the perspective. This seemed very in control. Things were cut down to, chief, this is what I got, or command, this is what I got. Command acknowledges, and then command might say something in dispatch. Dispatch acknowledges. The rest of that system actually went fairly smooth relative to everything outside of our area. And for that reason, I thought it would go well. And I wanted to put that up front, leading with that, so people kind of go, okay, now let's see what they got to say. And then hear, hey, on the inside of this story, what you didn't hear on the radio is this thing went to shit. So,
yeah, I agree. I mean, you listen to that audio, it sounds like a smooth ran incident. And you can listen to audio from a lot of fires around us. And like Matt said, all you hear is, you get the chief, where do you want me? We're rolling up with this. What's your pleasure? I hate, what's
go
what's
home.
your,
You don't
what's
know
your pleasure?
job.
Right.
Yeah, just go home.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I want you to turn your rig around and go back. I don't need you here. If you need to ask me what you're doing, everything, like, the rigs were pulling up on scene and they went to work. And from that audio, you would have never known Jared fell to the floor and Kyle ran out of that house twice to get assistance with removing Jared. It's kind of astonishing to hear that audio and then realize that this was all going on at the same time. In your town, between the 4 departments out there, if that Mayday did make it over to the command to the incident commander, what's your guys' policy for the Mayday? Do you guys stay on the same fireground channel? Does everybody stay in the fireground channel? Do operations switch over to a different fireground channel and the Mayday stays on the original? What do you guys have a policy?
I can only speak for us. The 4 departments, well, I'll say the 3 departments in town kind of operate similar, but not the same. I would hope, like us, that the Mayday stays on the operations channel that it's working on, and then the remainder of the fireground will move to a different operations channel. So if that happened in our neck of the woods, that's what would go on, but I can't speak for the others. I would assume and hope it's that way.
So if you were running if this was your fire, Kyle, if this happened in your first due in your district, you would have the operations change over. You see a benefit in that as a chief officer?
Yeah, I'm not going to make the Mayday guy try and change his radio. He's going through hell already. So he's gonna remain on the channel with me, and the remainder is going to move to the next operations channel.
I don't even think we still have a policy. What in our pay department? What happens with our radios during the Mayday? I am a believer that everybody stays on the same channel. That's because in this situation, if Jared called that Mayday and you have whatever crew operate that, the hose line crew that was in the basement, and they hear a Mayday in the basement, and they stay on that operating channel, they essentially could have, if they were on the ball, they could have assisted Jared snagged them.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no right or wrong answer to that. It's just one of those, I completely agree with you. The Mayday guy stays on that channel because there's no reason for him to be fumbling around with his radio. But it's one of those debates. Do you switch the operations over to a separate channel and keep Mayday on the original channel, or you just keep everybody on that same channel? And this also goes back to, one of the challenges I wanted to talk about was the command and control. I mean, you had a battalion chief as the incident commander. Did the district chief ever take over?
Nobody was there. So again, consider the time. It's 4th of July.
Yeah.
Had some actors to begin with, so no district chief aside from myself was even there.
So you kind of had the deck stacked against you guys at this one.
Yeah.
So with that being said, there was no. So you just had in his commander. Nobody. I mean, this was, like you said, this is a bread and butter fire.
Yeah.
You're looking at maybe 1,000, maybe 1,200 square foot Cape Cod. 9 times out of 10, you're not even having a Charlie side operations guy. And the way we're working now, we don't even put an operations section chief into play because of the way the command structure in the county is working now. Do you think having an extra chief on scene would have helped at that point?
Do you want me to go on my soapbox?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you need it because you're only 5'2"?
Take it easy.
Christ.
You said a little bit higher than that.
The people can't see that, man.
So, I know I'm just the dumb volunteer chief in town, but county-wide, I don't think we necessarily command incidents the best. There seems to be this thought that when you get a white helmet, you retire your air pack, and I think that's bullshit. The rest of the country would agree with me. The use of tactical supervisors in this county is not great. I think this is a great example of where a tactical supervisor would have been a benefit, and a tactical supervisor probably would have been me or another officer being in there, being assigned to Division 1, having a tactical supervisor in the basement, and having a tactical supervisor in the attic division. I know the thought process. Divisions aren't places, divisions are people. And this fire is a great example, even though the audio we listened to was condensed down. There's a lot of people talking, and those communications can be reduced through a tactical supervisor. You don't need everybody saying, yeah, we got water on the fire, Billy. Just tell the guy with the white hat who's standing there, and then he'll get that out to command if it's needed. Sometimes there's a lot of unnecessary radio traffic that comes across and then blocks out some important radio traffic. I can tell you, when I do infrequently go to these calls, I try to prod the command officers to put tactical supervisors in place. And following this incident, when I sent some follow-up notes to the administrative chief there, it's been happening. So, for me, there doesn't need to be 5 or 6 chiefs standing around the tailgate of a Tahoe. Those guys are more than capable of wearing ear packs and going inside and overseeing the big picture in the operation on the divisions. And in this scenario, maybe when Jared and me don't get out, the message does get out via a tactical supervisor, and then the resources are deployed appropriately. That's how the command system should work.
I agree.
Yeah, actually, that's kind of funny because out by me, all the departments, they kind of run that where they have, they don't call them a tactical supervisor, division chief. It's usually, I've heard a lot of them call them just like a different operations, kind of like how we have, a seaside operations boss. It would be a division boss or some of that nature where, yes, it's a person, not a location, geographical location. And I think that does work to their benefit. But all of the departments out there kind of have that built in. The only downside is it's volunteer based, mainly volunteer. And if you only got 5 people showing up and those 5 people are the chiefs, you have 5 division bosses, let's say, right? You don't got enough people to do the work, but
sure.
It is ingrained in them. Yeah, and it's in their DNA though to at least break those systems down so they don't need to, have so many airtime communications such as you're talking. Pros and cons, we see both sides.
So you hit on, you hit on it when you were talking about if you had a tactical supervisor, they could get the resources deployed. Was there? I never heard in the radio transmission that a unit was established as a RIT. And you also said in your rundown of the when we were going through the call that when you did that face to face, and you said there was a company assigned as a RIT, but then they were never around. Do you know exactly what happened at all?
I don't know that there was a company ever assigned as the RIC. I was under the assumption that the extra unit that was outside non-operating was the RIC, but I think they were tasked to take the rest of the window coverings off. And I believe that's what was going on when I was asking for the extra resource at that point.
All right. Yeah. It's just, it's one of those things and we've all been there. You pull up to the scene, you're assigned the RIT, and you're just like, oh, come on. And then you start finding something else to do. and then you're never needed, and then you're needed. And Jared probably could speak to this. Probably wanted that RIT. You probably wanted that A team at that time as the RIT team, and you didn't even have a team to begin. That was assigned.
Correct. Yeah, that's absolutely correct.
It's a heavy task. It really is. Most people get that general sense of this. It's boring, but I think there's a heavy sense of responsibility on that team. They got to know what they're doing. I kind of like doing RIC work. Yeah, it's boring. You don't get to cut holes. You don't get those stretch lines, but you do get to watch, especially if you're there early. You get to watch an entire scene break down. This is live YouTube, 3D YouTube, where you get to see the whole fire scene break down. Lou, you and I have just talked about this before, where we can actually pinpoint some things that we can benefit from or things that we can improve right then and there live. It's just, I think it's just the mindset. But yeah, like you just said, Jared, wouldn't you want that A team there?
Don't get me wrong. If you're assigned the RIT, and I think Kyle can agree with this, and if being a chief officer, if you assign somebody RIT, he probably wants the RIT officer with him at the command post. Mm-hmm. But then the other guys should be doing what that RIT team was potentially doing, was softening up the structure, throwing ladders, peeling. You have a boarded up vacant. That RIT team should be peeling off the board ups and making sure if an event like this happens, a successful outcome can happen by making sure the windows are opened up. We have ladders to at least all four sides, and they're getting a good size up. But that RIC officer has to be at the command post. So when something like this happens, the radio communication didn't get out. Okay, so we have somebody making a face-to-face with another chief officer on scene. He can turn to the RIC officers, hey, get your guys. There's a guy fell into the basement on the Charlie side. You need to get in there and get him out now.
You mentioned the Mayday communications. Does the fireground operations move over to another channel, or does everybody just kind of do the old, it's kind of like mom on the phone, hey, shut the fuck up, I'm on the phone. Okay, go ahead, guys. You could do something like that as well, but I have worked with other companies who, when they establish a RIC, there's a RIC commander that goes straight to the command post, and they're on their own frequency, whatever that is. It's another channel altogether. They may still have scan on, kind of like Kyle, what you were saying. You still had scan so you can hear things, but essentially your communications are just between your crewmates and that one person standing at command. So if command goes, turns to the RIC guy and goes, hey, they're in the basement, I need you to do this. They can have a full-blown conversation without having to worry about getting walked on or accidentally, dropping a communication somewhere. Just another food for thought to throw out there too. Not saying go to that for every time, but
so I mean, it's a Friday night. I want to keep you guys too long, and just a couple more questions. Any past experiences you guys had that helped you get this successful outcome?
Honestly, just training in the firehouse. When I went through the floor, obviously you're checking your mask, making sure you have air. It's not broken. It didn't crack a seal or anything. We have the false floor in our maze, and I kind of do the same thing. Check yourself, right? Kind of make it look realistic when you're falling through. So I see people during the training. They know that it's coming, so they just turn around and just slide down it. It's like, okay, that's not realistic here. You're not going to do that, right? I tried grabbing myself in that scenario, tried catching onto something, but I just stood up, made sure that I was actually okay, and tried to call for the Mayday.
Check your parts, make sure everything was fine.
Yeah, all the check engine lights.
Yeah. You talked about that. Our holes, the collapse simulator in our maze. When I was a training officer here, and I'm sure Kyle probably saw me come unhinged on some guys when they would try to slide on their ass down it. Yep. I would fucking lose it. I'm like, did you know that hole was there? Well, I know it's there in the maze. Well, I'd make them go back and do it again.
Yeah. I make it look realistic. I make it fun. I try to throw myself off of it pretty much.
So I do the opposite. As an instructor, I just stand on the back end of that thing so it can't flip. And then they panic on why isn't it going? And they either walk off the end, or when they turn around and go, hey, what's going on? And then you drop them, like it's into a ball pit. So we're not dropping them far, but for those people listening, but
that's a good idea.
Trick them up, get them. Yeah. You got to catch them off guard, right? That's the point of training. You cannot be prepared enough for shit that inside it's
joke
coming,
about
then
that.
it's nothing.
Inside, Jared, ask your BC aide what he did to the previous BC at the maze at the academy.
Okay.
They're at that on the academy's collapse simulator. I do have a question about the Mayday transmission. When you did call the Mayday and it obviously didn't make it out, did you just give the Mayday, Mayday, Mayday?
I did, yes. I didn't complete the entire sentence.
So this is another one that's up for debate, and there's no right or wrong answer. There's people that are a lot smarter than me. There's firemen, there's chief officers that have years of experience, that have commanded Maydays, and you could ask either one of them and you're going to get a different answer either time. What's the policy out there for your Maydays? Is it Mayday, 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 and then wait for a reply back from the incident commander, or are you just supposed to give the whole thing?
I think Kyle can speak up on that one, but I believe it's just the Mayday, 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 and actually wait for a response from.
Guy throws me right under the bus.
You're smiling like you had an answer already.
I didn't think it specified at all. I didn't think we actually had a policy, but it's something that I actually know and we trained on. So it's another training star. You're trying to just know it. And
I think it's a fair debate on whether to wait for the answer or get as much out as you can. However, I think it's situation dependent, just like everything in the fire service.
Yeah.
If you believe you have that moment, you're not in imminent danger. Is it worth the wait to see if somebody answers you? I don't know. I'm with you, Cap. I think there's arguments on both sides. Never had to call one, so I don't know.
I've never had to call one either. The closest I've came was an urgent, but my thought is, and I think this is kind of specific to at least our department, because we have dispatchers in our department that are pretty in tune with the radio transmissions, where if I'm in a Mayday situation, I don't know if I'm getting another radio transmission out. So I want to get as much information out as possible. So I'm giving that Mayday, Mayday, Mayday. And then here's the other question. Are you still on the traditional lunar, or are you going to who, what, and where?
Who, what, where?
Yeah, and that's where everybody should be, is a who, what, where. Lunar, and when I teach recruits, and we had have you guys sat in for Lieutenant Greco's speech? Did you guys ever sit in on that?
I have
not. I did for the one academy class.
The next academy class, you got it. Kyle, make it down there for it, because you go into that primal, the prime recognition, whatever. I'm drawing a blank here, but you go into
prime decision making. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah. You have been taught who, what, where since you were a child since you started in English classes and stuff like that. You start school in, kindergarten at the age of 4 or 5. And now, Jared, how old are you right now?
27.
27. And you've been in the fire service since when?
Since I was 18.
So you got less than 10 years in the fire service, and you were in school for at least 18, or 12 years of high school, and still, using who, what, where in your normal day-to-day communication skills. And then to throw in some acronym in the fire that someone in the fire service made up for lunar, for someone to remember in a life and death scenario, seems asinine to me. Lunar is more of and this goes to Kyle, kind of a chief officer, almost check the box thing, like on a Mayday checklist sheet. All right, what's their location? What unit are they? Who is it? That shouldn't be that shouldn't be the responsibility of the Mayday, the fireman having the Mayday. The fireman having the Mayday should be call the Mayday. Who are you? What happened? And where are you? Type of thing. As a chief officer, what do you want? What do you want? Or what do you need stand out in the front?
I'm totally with you. As a guy calling it, it should be where, what, who, perhaps. And I know on my command board, I flip it over and I have my Mayday checklist right there because for the same reason, we don't do Maydays every day. You want to be able to go through these things. It is a lunar base where you could hopefully ask those questions and get back a better response if that down fireman has a chance. But yeah, that where, what, who is probably what we want to hear. Where being the most important, because if that's the last thing you get out, at least we could send the resources to a geographical location and hopefully find you.
Yeah, and the most important thing, and I don't know if I would assume just because of the way our county works that we do some things very good and we do some things they're not bad, but the way we update our, at least in our pay department, you guys know this, is that when the officer gets in for the day, he makes sure the riding positions are correct in our software system, and that software system correlates to the radios for the identifiers. And that's why I say in our department, you hope that happens. But if you key up the mic and just say Mayday, 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 our dispatchers should be able to delineate just based off the identifier. That's this person. They were riding in this seat, and because they were the second due engine, these were their responsibilities. What are your radio identifiers set up like out there in the volunteer world? I just don't know because I haven't been a volunteer in 17 years. What they've been doing.
Officers are going to have not even so much their name attached to the radio, but the officers will at least have their call sign. However, the apparatus is just 115A, 115B, 115C, 115D, so on. You don't know. That's the challenge in volunteer land is unless you're one of these more prosperous departments, which we are not, who assigns each individual a portable. That sounds like a nightmare as it is, assigning every volunteer fireman a portable.
Yeah. Does the county ECD do they? And this is just my ignorance. Do they get your radio identifier popped up too?
Yes,
they do. So if you had an on the ball dispatcher, they would at least, if that Mayday transmission came out and they heard it, they could at least called command, hey, you have a Mayday going on here, and we got it from this portable.
That dispatcher working that night is usually pretty on the ball. I've commanded a pretty significant incident with him behind the computer, and he has heard things that I can't necessarily hear at the command post just because of everything going on. It's been relayed. So
yeah. Dispatchers sometimes are the unsung heroes for these large scale incidents. If you have a good on the ball dispatcher, they're weight in gold, and some are pretty heavy.
And I gotta say, we're very fortunate for our dispatch program in our county. We primarily have a centralized dispatch, but it's not two people sitting up there answering every call in the county and city. There's a dedicated fire dispatcher, multiple of each category, but there's a dedicated fire, even if it's the same job, that there's one ambulance, one cop, and one fire truck going. There's a dispatcher for each one of those, so that there is no eye off the ball type of thing, or something does not get misrelayed in communications, and they can communicate amongst themselves as well. Going back to the lunar thing, I agree. I like when I teach that section in the academy, I just write right on the board lunar. But the easiest way to do it, if you actually break that down, the first two, location is the where. You got to know the where, because of the way, even though we use passports in our county, we use passport systems, and there's little tags on there and everything. So at least you know what that unit is supposed to be assigned, so long as they bring that passport to the command. So if the first thing you get out is Division 2 and it cuts out, well, I know I'm going to, I got Mayday, 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 Division 2. At least I can start that RIC team, and I can then incident commander can look at that board and go, who the hell is working on Division 2? Oh, that's right. I assigned X, Y, and Z companies. I have a starting point. Get them started to that location and go, hey, you're looking for this company, or this company, and let that get started and then continue unfolding it. When you start looking at unit and name, that's the who, and then the what is the rest of Lunar. So really, they're one and the same. I think it's too much to remember because I've caught myself a million times doing the same thing. Like, what is U is, oh yeah, unit. Oh yeah, it's 4 or 5, whatever. What's my name? I'm going to skip that one because I don't want to sound like a boob on the radio. Chief Kyle, like I'm not going to use my name on the radio. Are you kidding me? But if I say, hey, it's, the hydronoff of whatever unit, they can start to get a fine-tuned picture of who it is, what their assignment was. And if I can get out my needs, hey man, I'm really tangled. Just send somebody in with some wire cutters. I'm okay. Or what have you.
Last thing I got for you guys, 2 questions. Both can answer them. Any training you guys wish you had, and what would you have done different? Any training you wish you had that possibly would have helped you, and is there anything you would have done different on this call?
I think.
Jared, go ahead. Your brain's about to explode.
Trying to think here. Probably the nicest way of putting it is, we train on like the Mayday situations and how to stay calm, cool, and collected, but we don't do it in real life situations, and it's really hard to do it in real life situation. I think we need to put it more of a real life situation. You know what I mean? Maybe falling a little bit more than 2 feet into the foam pit, maybe actually tangling up somebody and get their heart rate up and talk on the radio like how I was. Because in the training situation, it's coming and you know what you're going to do, you know what you're going to say. But when the real situation actually happens, you're just flustered.
Yeah, I don't know it with all the rules and regulations that they put on firefighter training on it. It's tough. It's tough to do.
Right. It's real tough to incorporate a real life scenario into it.
Kyle, what about you?
I would agree with Jared as far as the training aspect. Unfortunately, I had touched on it earlier. You could do all the smokehouse drills with theater smoke and parking lot drills, packaging the down firemen and all this stuff. But when you don't do it kind of realistically, where there may be some heat and fire, it's different. Like I said, only a couple of my training things that kind of came to when this all happened. There's certainly a ton of stuff we've trained on at work and on the volunteer side that we just didn't remember in the heat of the moment, and I feel like that's normal. But it's one of these low frequency events. But training wise, just making the training more realistic. But we know that the systems are essentially built for us to fail these days, for lack of a better term. We just can't create these training scenarios anymore where it is realistic. So you got to try and do your best. Things that could have gone better, I don't know if you want to sit here for another 2 hours. For me, it was not so much a failure. I don't think any of it was a failure. Obviously, Jared and I are here to talk about it, not so much me, Jared. But the failure for me was on the command side. That bit of complacency on my own part and on the command officers. I don't know to this day how that message gets out face to face in the greatest form of communication, and there is no follow-up on that. So I think a bit of complacency on that.
Kind of another training point too is we don't train on we talk about the emergency button, but we don't use it in the training scenario because it goes down to the downtown dispatcher or it goes to our dispatcher. So in a real life situation, you don't think to press it right away, and if you do, you're already outside. It's like, oh, I could have pressed that, and I didn't think about pressing it until I was in the truck going back to the firehouse. I'm like, yeah, we have an emergency button on our radio. That would have helped.
Yeah, it's one of those things. When we got these radios, we were training a lot, pressing them, but it was all like truck bay training and seeing how they worked.
Right.
And then as soon as the dispatchers inputted our radio frequencies into their terminals, what happens is you hit that button and it, quote unquote, opens up all the terminals, and it, for lack of a better term, it pisses off the dispatchers that their terminals are flashing or whatever they do. And it even goes as far as, we have other counties that put our frequencies into their terminals, and we were setting off neighboring counties' terminals while we're training. We're like, look, we're training on a life-saving skill here. I don't care. To me, I don't care that your terminal is flashing red.
Right.
But I commend you, Kyle, for saying what you said about your. I'm not going to say them shortcomings, but the complacency that happened.
You're gonna keep going with the short jokes, huh? It's a low blow.
It's all right. Hey, I use your line all the time about height. But one thing about the training, though, getting back to the training, is you do live fire training, and what's the first thing they tell you during the briefing? All Maydays are real Maydays, so don't call them Mayday. And then when we do Mayday training, everybody goes into the mindset that we're doing Mayday training and RIC training. So you're already mentally prepared for that scenario that's going to play out. And I was just talking to this with Justin at Shift Change. When was the last time of any incident command training with any command officer that's ran through a Mayday scenario? And it could be simple as just play this audio that we just played, but throw in a Mayday in there and see if they can run through their checklist. See if they deploy a RIC team. Do they get another RIC team on scene because one team's been deployed? I think so far it's been one of the better fire service books I read. Chief Goldfeder and Chief Lieb just came out with a book with 30 fires that everybody should know. I just read through the Tarver fire again. Everybody knows what happened in Phoenix. And after that, Phoenix came through their studies about RIC teams. And it's one Mayday fireman that goes down. They found it takes 4 RIC teams to get that one fireman out. And this isn't a commercial fire. It could be residential as well. But out of those 4 RIC teams, 4 other Maydays were transmitted. And that was just during training. And I think you look on the Instagram and the Facebooks and all this other stuff, and you see, people are doing some very good RIC training and stuff like that. But I don't think it's really hitting the mark.
It's tough. How do you recreate those scenarios? Within the bounds of how we have to recreate them. It's tough. I think all of the skills have value, even not performing them under live fire. But when that moment happens, it's tricky. And granted, I think ours was a pretty small one. It was a Mayday that downgraded pretty quick, but it'll get your juices flowing. And I like to think that I'm not a very excitable guy, and I can tell you, I was pretty amped up.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet.
Like I said, listen to next time Grieco does his speech. Listen to, when he was a lieutenant, and when he called his Mayday, he said fireman, because all his training that he ever did for Mayday scenarios, he was always firefighter, Grieco, whatever.
Yeah.
It's just, you go back, you fall back on your training, and sometimes our training isn't the best what we can fall back on. And it's just the nature of the beast of the fire service. So
no, and hopefully one day we can get that. It's the psychological effect. As soon as you say we're going into training, and then you give the prescription of what that training is, your mindset is locked into what to expect. The only way you can try to get around that would break the rules, and that would be, I'm going to tell you we're going in to do pick something different. We're going into a rope evolution, and all of a sudden now you're in a Mayday situation. You find yourself in a Mayday. Not quite that, but you think you're about to do one thing, and then something changes, and you have to react. That is the training. But because you have to have a training plan ahead of time, it's impossible to do. And there's only one organization in the U.S. that gets away with doing this, and that's our U.S. military. And multiple organizations, but it's your U.S. military. You go through live fire training. Their live fires, they have live ammunition being shot above their heads. That is the reason for this, to psychologically prepare you for shit that you cannot. You can't stand up. It's coming whizzing over your head. You could go ahead.
Jeez.
Go ahead. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to learn quick. Well, your buddies are going to learn quick. There's no way to give that same training to the fire service without endangering someone.
Right.
But that's the trick. Kyle, you said, you kind of alluded to it a little bit. Was there an official after action report compiled?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jared, you did a presentation. Between the two of these things, when you guys put that stuff out there to your departments, and I don't know how far you reached, Jared, with your presentation, did anything change, or do you see anything about to change? That's for either of you.
The only thing that I did was did the presentation. It took about an hour, and then afterwards we went did some hands-on skills of the air pack, the mask, the RIC bag, and then some radio stuff. Kind of getting used to the radio, where the button is, especially for the newer guys. They may not know what to do in that situation, so I just went over everything hands-on, and that's pretty much all I have.
Do you feel like that was at least a benefit? Woke some people up to something, even in a small capacity?
Yes, it definitely was. Some of the guys, especially the newer guys, haven't touched the RIC pack, and they don't know that it's a little bit bigger, or how it operates with a bag over the pack. So went over that, the best way to deal with a bag and the mask and the bottle, and how to carry it, basically, and then just the radios.
On my end, obviously my position with the department is developing policies and procedures. For me, I've been working on a fires in vacant dwellings policy. Like I said, I don't know if you want to spend 2 more hours, but yeah, you kind of got to look at risk versus reward. I know that we have to assume that all dwellings are occupied, but the biggest fire department around us has a very good policy on fires in vacant dwellings and how they run those fires. Because I do think some of this was preventable, as well as updates to the Mayday procedure. Just naturally that need to be polished up.
Did it get done?
No, neither of them are done yet. No.
Okay, but they're being worked on, though?
Yes.
Okay. People are receptive to that coming down the pike?
Yeah, I mean, just like us, you could push out operational guidelines and procedures. It's up to the individual to read them and be familiar with them. Us as employees of our fire district, we're kind of obligated to be knowledgeable in those, but the same thing on the volunteer side. You expect your guys to be knowledgeable in those OGs and SOPs. But at the end of the day, I think we've done a good job in the volunteer world. If we are doing some training, is bringing out the OG or SOP that accompanies it and going through it. But yeah, for the most part, people are receptive.
What about interoperability? I mean, it sounds like your town relies on multiple agencies to be at task here. So is there's
interoperability to a degree. Is it smooth sailing? Yes and no. it can be a culmination of things. Obviously, the career departments are probably working together a little bit more, and I think things are a little smoother between them. But the order of operations naturally sometimes there was a fire in the town 2-3 weeks ago where our engine was the first due engine into the career district, and that immediately throws a wrench into that operation when we don't the game plan isn't mapped out where it should be, and I would love it to be. There's just the 4 districts all have different hose loads. All of them run a different hose load. 3 of us do water supply differently. Let's not get into that one, but the interoperability could certainly be better. But as the old saying goes, you can lead a horse to water, you can't force him to drink. The tones go off, we're going to respond, and we're going to do what the authority having jurisdiction expects us to do.
So it sounds like it's still going to kind of rely on a command-driven system versus everybody shifting to a general SOG-driven.
For now.
Okay.
Any final takeaways from this? Any closing thoughts?
I think it's a little different with with vacant structures too. Every department runs it different. Are you going in? Are you staying out? I know, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe the city, what they do is if it's a known vacant or whatnot, they hit it defensively and then make a push in. Whereas this fire, we were making an aggressive interior attack. So if the departments up north got to kind of think how we're going to respond and what we're going to do, where our SOGs could be different up over here, but the career department in the south of us are completely different from what we do. So to Kyle's point, you got to listen to the authority having jurisdiction. Sorry, having a stroke here.
Yeah, I would agree with Jared. My takeaway of this entire thing, for me, was a bit of a risk versus reward. When you look back, look at the structure, you could hear in the audio even before anybody made entry. I can't remember who said, "Hey, are you familiar with this place? We've been here before. It's known for cluttered conditions," or whatever they said, and it's a vacant. As an incident commander, that should have been a cue to maybe take a tactical pause and say, should we really go gung-ho, guns a-blazing through the door? We came across a significant volume of fire and a wide open door. Should we take a pause? Should we take all the window coverings off? Should we secure a positive water source before we even send somebody in here? Now, the unknown, maybe there is somebody inside. It's going to be the constant battle, but
yeah,
I think in those...
It's one of those, the argument that a vacant houses don't just catch fire on their own.
Right. You're absolutely right. But do you risk the lives of your guys, for a structure that's a tough one.
Right. Yeah. Well, I agree. And yeah, I think this was awesome. Awesome having you guys on. Finally locking you guys down.
Sorry, I was a little busy.
Dude, I don't want to hear about marriage, man.
I was in a beautiful land for 10 days. I mean, I probably could have done the podcast from Jamaica, but I can tell you, I've only had 2 beers while I've done this. You would have had What's good, Lou?
Yeah, I'm sure your beautiful wife would have enjoyed it. Honey, I gotta do a podcast.
Yeah,
a podcast.
I got to go.
Next thing you know, all the guys are on there. They're
yeah.
That's
all.
Been
a total circus.
Yeah.
You know what? But that's the point of this podcast, is to have these conversations. Here you got a guy that's Jared. How many years you got?
I have just under 5 as a paid fireman.
Okay, but from 1827, so
From
you're
18 to
9
27.
years in the fire service.
Just-
Lou, you
just
got
under
how
10,
many?
yeah.
What do you got? 65 years
19.
now? What do you,
Yeah,
19 years.
19.
You know, and everything in between. You got 2 black hats. You got a chief and a captain. It's good to sometimes sit down. It doesn't have to be for every freaking detail in the fire service, but to break it down, see what the guys that are working on the inside need or want, or maybe they don't know. And then from the outside perspective as well, as you know, the people that the white hats in the front lawn or across the street in the buggy, or as you mentioned there, Kyle, maybe they're a division chief most of the time, or division boss. You know, it's good to have this cross pollination, you know, and department to department. Like I said, that's the point of this whole podcast, is to break these things down and hope for some change. And if it starts with a conversation, so be it.
Before we wrap up, Jared, you want to give a plug to your business you got going on?
Oh, geez.
Basementladders.com.
Basementladders.com. For all of your leather needs, radio straps and whatnot, follow www.churchescustoms.com and order it.
How do
You can find me on Instagram too.
You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and that's it.
You have to spell it.
Yeah.
Kirch's Customs. KIRCHS Customs. CUSTOMS.com.
Beautiful.
There you go.
And if you happen to be living in the northeast side of Monroe County and you need snow plowing services, KV Snow Plowing Enterprises will come and plow you out, baby.
He won't destroy your lawn.
There you go. There's the plug for the snowplow. Mr. Plow up there.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate you guys coming on and locking this thing down. This was
thank
awesome.
you guys very much. Great
I'm glad you guys are both safe. Jared, I know you fell through. It sounded like it was imminent danger there for Kyle and your other buddy. I'm glad you guys all made it. When you guys, I heard word, Jared, Jared fell through a hole. I'm pretty sure it was the next day. I came to work.
It was the next day. I was at work.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, Jared fell through a hole last night. There was a Mayday operation." I'm like, I just saw him down the hall. You know, I was surprised.
I got home at about 4:45, and I went to work at 6:45.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god. Jesus. So I'm glad you guys are all right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right, I think that does it, man.
All right. With that, we'll wrap this up. Like, subscribe, whatever you got to do. We have Fire from Two Windows at gmail.com. Send in your Q&As if you guys got them. We are still collecting those. We're going to be planning to do a Q&A session coming up soon. Still trying to put the rest of that together. Lou, we got a Instagram handle there?
Yep, Fire from Two Windows on Instagram. Page is getting some hits. It's doing pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah. We like what people are saying. We don't mind pissing people off. Like we said, that's the catalyst. As our buddy Mike keeps saying, that's the catalyst for everything. So Kyle's giving me a thumbs up, pissing him off. So appreciate what everybody's doing out there. And last but not least, stay safe.